The episode begins in a Brooklyn court in the United States where a woman is crying in the bathroom. As soon as she comes out, her lawyer tells her they have to go to court, but she jokes about running away from the courtroom. Quickly, the atmosphere shifts back to reality and they head out to the court. We go back in time to a nightclub where a man is telling jokes to the audience. When he finishes, everyone applauds enthusiastically amid laughter at his jokes. The club manager confirms she was the first to discover the talent of this man named Zeke Thompson. We then shift to the group that includes the woman from the beginning of the episode, whose name is Brynn. We learn that Zeke, the comedian, has a show and has invited her. She insists her boyfriend go with her, but he initially refuses. She keeps pushing him, trying to change his mind because she wants to convince Zeke to let her perform jokes with him to become famous. We learn they had a previous relationship. After a while, her boyfriend, Fletcher, gives in and goes with her. As soon as they enter, they notice a lot of people there, and it seems Zeke has become filthy rich after gaining fame. Fletcher appears jealous. When they enter, Zeke greets them and comes to see them, but he seems very busy. They manage to take a picture together before Zeke's manager comes and pushes them aside. Minutes later, they decide to leave, but Zeke stops them and asks Brynn to stay while her boyfriend leaves because he's late. Zeke begins talking to her and asks her to go upstairs with him to his room because the noise and crowd are distracting. She asks him to help her become famous, and he agrees after watching some of her videos. But soon, things take a dark turn as he starts harassing her, and eventually rapes her against her will despite her resistance. We return to Brynn in court, where she is telling her lawyer what happened. We go back again to the past after the rape incident. Brynn is shown returning home, crying and in shock. She changes her clothes and quickly calls her manager to complain and ask for advice. She is shocked by her manager's response, who tells her to keep silent about what happened, forget it, and get closer to Zeke so he can make her famous. The manager asks her to call back in the morning. The next day, she wakes up to find a photo of her on a social media page, which brings back the horrible memories. That's when she decides to report what happened and goes to get examined. Her boyfriend Fletcher arrives to comfort her and offer help. Later, her boyfriend shows her the news of Zeke's arrest. She is shocked to see her name mentioned in the report. She notices many aggressive and attacking responses against her on social media. However, she also discovers some supporters, especially an activist. As she reads through the comments, Zeke calls her to convince her to drop the charges. He tries to manipulate her memory, even claiming she slept with him twice before and blaming her. He tells her that people won't believe her and will think she's crazy. Unable to bear it, she hangs up. The next day, she goes to the prosecutor. Some of the messages she received supported her case, especially the activist who stood in solidarity with her. When she sits with the prosecutor, he starts asking questions, and she explains things happened against her will. But he asks whether there was a relationship between her and Zeke. She denies it. Back in court, there are women covering their mouths in solidarity with her case. They appear to be from a group of women who had also been raped. We return to Brynn, who is fired from her job. Fletcher considers quitting in solidarity, but she stops him. She is surprised when the activist supporting her appears in person. Her name is Tess. They go to Tess's home and start talking, and they seem to get along well. Her boyfriend visits, but there's clear tension between him and Tess. Brynn is drunk, so Fletcher helps her to bed. While there, he finds some pictures of Zeke that appear to have been burned. This causes him to become suspicious and angry. We then see the prosecutor watching some videos of Brynn, in which she appears vulgar. He calls her friends to ask, and finds out there was a past relationship between Brynn and Zeke. He then speaks with Zeke, who confirms they had sex multiple times before. When Fletcher is asked, he's forced to admit they were in a relationship. We see Tess and Brynn talking about Tess's past with rape and how that's the reason she supports Brynn. Tess reveals she has built a community of women who had similar experiences. Fletcher visits and tells Brynn what happened with the prosecutor. The next day, Brynn meets again with the prosecutor. He tells her he can't help her because the court might turn against her, which angers her. That night, Fletcher visits her. Tess is visibly annoyed by his presence. Soon, a fight breaks out, and Brynn kicks Fletcher out. Tess then calls the police. We return to court. The shock comes when Tess appears in court to testify, and we are surprised to learn she had burned Zeke after his comedy show. The defense attorney tries to accuse Brynn of inciting the act, but Tess denies it. The biggest shock is when Zeke enters the courtroom, angering the anti-rape activists, who begin protesting loudly until the judge silences them. Now it's Brynn's turn to speak before the judge. judge. She starts defending herself and the vulgar videos, explaining they were for comedy and meant to attract an audience, not to incite violence. She calls her boyfriend Fletcher, who seems to have cut ties with her after the incident. She begs him to be there with her during this tough time, but he doesn't respond and hangs up. At the last moment, he shows up to support her before the judge declares her innocent. While everyone celebrates, Brynn tells Zeke that what happened wasn't her doing and she's sorry things escalated like that. She then explains to the rest of the anti-rape group, who were angry at her apology, that revenge isn't the solution and that they should find another way. The episode ends on this note.